What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. First and foremost, please mind any background noise that the audio might pick up. Got a couple things going on around here, a couple things going on outside. But with that being said, you guys already know what to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the post notification bell, hit the like button. All the support, greatly appreciated. Back here again, looking at some more coaching candidates, man. We've already done, I want to say, we've done about 5 so far, and we still got some more ones to look at here. We've been staying consistent, staying on the grind, so your report is greatly appreciated, man. However it is, view, like, whatever it is, it's all greatly appreciated. With that being said, the coaching search does continue for the Atlanta Falcons. We now enter week number 2 of this official coaching search. And, first of all, when do the Falcons, make the announcement on who the next head coach is? I don't know. I've heard some people say it could be sooner rather than later. I still think we probably got about another week or two before we have a good idea of who the Falcons are hiring. And it could be longer before that's made official, depending on maybe someone we obviously go and get. Their team's still playing in the playoffs. But with that being said, today we're going to talk about Mike Vrabel, former head coach of the Tennessee Titans, former player, former linebacker in the NFL also. So Mike Vrabel, he's obviously, if you know football, Mike Vrabel is one of the more respected figures around the league for his passion for the game. And, the success that, he has accumulated in his time as a player and as a coach. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Look a little at his resume. Former head coach of the Tennessee Titans from 2018 to 2023. He led the Titans to 3 playoff appearances, 2 AFC South Division titles, and an appearance in the AFC Championship in 2019. Obviously, the Titans went on that amazing playoff run that year. They ended the dynasty, sent Brady out of New England. They went up to Baltimore and shocked the 1-seed Ravens before falling to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, who would go on to win the Super Bowl that year, by the way. Former NFL Coach of the Year in 2021, which I think if you really look at, obviously that's big, being a former Coach of the Year. And it really, I think, goes to show, the job that obviously you have done, with your team. And we all know that Coach of the Year, big accolade when you're looking at it. And he's a former linebacker for 14 seasons. He played with the Steelers, spent some time with the Chiefs, and he's most remembered, obviously, for his playing time with the Patriots from 2001 to 2008, where he won 3 Super Bowls. There was really one of the anchors of that New England defense, and he also actually just went into the Patriots Ring of Honor just this past season. And also, before we found out that they put in Gerard Mayo's contract that he would succeed Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel, I think, was the main name linked to New England that wasn't in that organization, at the time. But obviously, had spent time in that organization and really has a pedigree stemming from that organization. And then when you look at his coaching history, 2011 to 2013, he coached at his alma mater, the Ohio State University, linebacker and defensive line coach. From 2014 to 2016, he was with the Houston Texans as a linebacker coach, and then was elevated in 2017 to defensive coordinator of the Houston Texans before becoming head coach in Tennessee, where he would spend 6 seasons there. And when you look at a guy like Mike Vrabel, there's obviously a lot of pros with him. Number one, and the main thing that I think pops out to me, is the guy is experienced. He's proven. And that's something when you look at, a lot of these other candidates that there are, they might be bright, young, hot commodities. But Mike Vrabel, and obviously there's some other ones too that have experience. But he's a proven head coach, and he's shown to produce tough and competitive teams. And he's not going to take any bullshit from anybody. He's going to make sure that he puts out a disciplined and physical team. He's not going to settle for mediocrity. He's going to, even though, the past few years in Tennessee, that has been the result. I would also have to probably argue that that was more so stuff that was happening above him, which is really one of the big reasons why he's out of Tennessee, which I'm actually going to touch a little bit on in a second. But one way or another, he's going to put a physical and competitive team out there. He's going to make sure that his teams are ready to win. He has a winning pedigree to him, and he can be a culture builder of sorts. From his time in New England to looking at some of the work he did in Tennessee, and before he really got there, those Titans teams really, for the most part, they were pretty piss poor. Obviously, at the end of, I think Mike McCarthy might have been the head coach before him, or I could be mistaken on that. It was someone like that. You saw the Titans were improving a little bit, but for the most part, man, when he went into Tennessee, he completely shifted the culture over there and how it looked in Tennessee and, how that team played. So when you look at that, he has the ability to get guys to buy in. He's also going to be very hands-on with guys. He's not just going to be that coach trotting the sidelines. He's going to get into it with his players. As you literally see here at the bottom of the screen, him literally doing drills with, I want to say that, I don't know if that's Jeffrey Simmons, but one of the Titans defensive linemen from camp a couple years back. So he is a very hands-on coach. He's going to make sure that he does everything in his power to make sure that his teams are successful. And then there is some prior experience here when you're talking about this defense and Mike Vrabel being a defensive guy. There is some prior experience with the defensive scheme from when Dean Pease was here a couple years back. And obviously, a lot of those guys still here. And it's not necessarily too different from Ryan Nielsen's. That's one of the big reasons we honestly brought Nielsen in, is the scheme did not differ too much from Dean Pease. There were obviously some different elements, but still there was stuff that you could build off of. So to me, I feel like you put a Mike Vrabel, and potentially he could even keep a Ryan Nielsen here. I feel like that could be able to mesh pretty well together. I don't think it would create, a big conflict in terms of, the defensive scheme and all that and how the defense lines up. But obviously there are some cons. And I think the number one was obviously you look at how the relationship was in Tennessee with ownership and with the owner up in Tennessee, and really just at the end how he really did. There was a lot of discourse between the owner and Mike Vrabel and the general manager of the Titans. That's really, to be honest, why he was let go by the Titans. It was growing very distant from each other. And then when you consider Arthur Blank and Rich McKay and how hands-on, especially Rich McKay, is in the organization, and Vrabel's mentality and style, Vrabel is going to want say. He's going to want control. No, he isn't going to want to be the full-on general manager, but he's one of those guys where he's not going to take any bullshit. He has that alpha male mentality. He's not going to, take a Rich McKay or an Arthur Blank, dragging him around, Rich McKay wanting to be in his face 25 times a week. That's not how it's going to go. And that could be a big conflict of interest preventing him to come here. And just another thing for me, I think there's a lot of awkwardness. I feel like that's the word best to describe Vrabel coming here after we literally just fired one of his more, notable assistants or coordinators in Arthur Smith. We just let Arthur Smith go, and now we're going to bring a Mike Vrabel back here. To me, on one hand, maybe you could see it as building on a culture, but on the other hand, I just feel like there's a lot of awkwardness that could be there. But with that being said, overall, there's no denying how good of a coach Mike Vrabel is. And if Mike Vrabel was here, I wouldn't be complaining because he is a guy that's going to make sure that his teams are going out on that field and ready to compete. But to me, I just don't see that there's much interest from the Falcons to Mike Vrabel for several reasons, but probably primarily because you just let go of Arthur Smith, who was maybe the most notable assistant from Mike Vrabel in his time in Tennessee. So when you really look at that, I feel like that could be what, for whatever reason, does deter the Falcons away from the idea of a Mike Vrabel. But there's no denying, how good of a coach he is. I could honestly maybe just see Mike Vrabel taking a year off from coaching because I don't know how many of these job openings could really fit a Mike Vrabel or grab his interest. But with that being said, I don't know who I'm going to do next. There's several guys, obviously, that I still need to do that I will do here tomorrow or, definitely within these next few days. Still got a lot of guys to talk about. But with that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.